Good evening, humans. Tyrannosaurusmoth here, and welcome to another episode of PlastiCombat. This is the series where I take a look at either different interpretations of the same character, different interpretations of the same archetype, or just variations on the same figure, and help you either decide which is the one that you want to buy, or just help sate your curiosity about how they stack up when put side by side. So, tonight we have a complete lack of fear, such a lack of fear that we are actually in the negative because we have two versions of Penta El Cero M. First, on the left, we have the Legends of Lucha Libre Penta El Cero M from Boss Fight Studios, and on the right, we have the Pentagon Jr figure as part of the AEW Unrivaled line from Jazwares. So, as you can see right off the bat, there are a lot of differences, so I'm going to try and keep this as succinct as possible and get through this. So without further ado, let's do this.
Round 1, fight!
For round 1, we have aesthetics. This is where the most obvious differences are, the most apparent right out of the box, and the two glaring differences that we're going to start with are the color and the scaling, or the size. So in terms of color, obviously our Boss Fight Studios is in red and black, and our AEW Unrivaled is in white and black. So right off the bat, you get that. They are very similar outfits, or ring gear. Penta has pretty much a general aesthetic. He goes around. The things changing are kind of the belt piece and some of the details in the mask. But here we have pretty much the same mask, just in different colors, and the belt piece is like slightly different design, and then we're gonna get into some of the things on the legs. So I guess for the easy part, before actually we get into all of that, let's talk about the scaling, and that's probably apparent in the pose they were just in, but I'm going to bring them to neutral so you can see where they stand literally next to each other. So we have our boss fight, and that is a true 1/12, so it's a 6-inch figure, and our AEW comes in at more of a 1/10. So as you can see, definitely a difference there. There's kind of a whole head for the Jazwares version as opposed to the boss fight. So that being said, the Jazwares AEW is going to fit in more with your WWE figures, which are kind of the industry standard for wrestling figures at this point in time. And the Boss Fight Studio is going to fit in more with different lines. So you've got your Marvel Legends, your Power Rangers Lightning Collection, stuff like that, which is really cool because you can do some cool crossover stuff here. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Beyond that, as I said, the colors are different because of that, but it is basically the same outfit. Then we get into the sculpt, and sculpt work is very interesting here because the proportions are definitely different for each of them. I feel like the Jazwares, you get into a bit more of what you get with the WWE figures, where the legs are a little long. Again, in my opinion, I might be, I don't know if I'm alone in that. I haven't seen any opinions on that anywhere online or otherwise, but that is what it is. And then you have the boss fight, which I think is really well proportioned. I think this very much looks pretty close to his real life physique. Not only that, but I'm going to use that to move into the other, what I see as the biggest difference, and that is the face. So there are two head sculpts for Boss Fight Studios and only one for our Jazwares AEW, but using these, this is what comes out of the box for the boss fight. I feel like you get a little bit more depth here. I think it's there's more black around the eyes, which really draws them out. The sculpt is a little bit deeper, so looking at the profile, you can see that there's some more actual, like, real life shadow, where here it's just the eyes are a little closer to the edge of the sculpt. So there's that. yeah, not only that, but in the mask, the little tail pieces here come down a little bit further. They're not quite as far down here on the Jazwares. So that is what it is. Then moving on to tattoos, which obviously the same tattoos because he has certain tattoos. You get a little bit more detail on the boss fight studio, though they are both clear. So definitely respectable on both sides. Both are definitely clear, especially the words. Actually interesting, I didn't notice till I was just running this by now, that the right arm seems a little more, little less dense rather on the boss fight and more dense on the Jazwares. So you got that as well. So that will do it for aesthetics.
Round 2, fight!
For round 2, we have accessories. And I know I said that the aesthetics were glaring, but as you can see, the bigger glaring difference here is absolutely in what you get with the figure outside of the figure itself. So starting on the left with our Boss Fight Studios Penta M, we get an alternate head, which has a fantastic sculpt, by the way. I went over this in my review of this figure, which you should check out, but here it is in detail. Really, really cool looking. And then you get 3 different sets of hands. You get gripping hands right out of the box. Then you get splayed hands, and you get 2 different Cero Miedo hand gestures, both for left and right. Then you also get a weapon accessory, so you get a piece of fluorescent lighting. So that's accessories for Boss Fight Studios. Try and zoom in here. There we go. And finally, for the Jazwares AEW, we just get the 2 kind of gripping, grappling hands out of the box, and we get 1 right hand Cero Miedo gesture, and that's it. So, I mean, honestly, if I'm gonna call a winner for accessories, it is very clearly the Boss Fight Studios.
Final round, fight!
And for round 3, we're going on to Articulation. And as I had expressed in the last episode, I'm gonna focus more on the differences than the similarities here, just in the sake of, or in the interest rather, of time. So, bring these 2 figures into a neutral position once again. I should probably not pose them so so articulately before going into this. We're going to start from the top and go down just like we do in normal reviews. So head is very different. So if you saw my review for the Boss Fight Studios figure, you know that, I'm gonna see if I can get this off cleanly here. We have a barbell joint that is actually attached to the head itself. So that is articulation, plus this is kind of rubbery in here. So get that seated once again. Of course, it's not gonna work because I'm on camera. I'm trying to be careful here because I love this figure. I'll do it off camera. There we go. And there we go. So that's the head. So you get side to side, you get all around here. It's just a ball joint, I believe, on the Jazwares. So you're not getting any tilt out of that head. So you're basically getting forward and back, and not quite as much. Coming down, woo, sliding out of place here. There we go, there we go. And we got butterfly joints on our Boss Fight Studios, none on the Jazwares. They both have all the bicep swivel, the double jointed elbows, the hinge and swivels at the wrist. They both have the same torso, surprisingly. You get a little more range out of Boss Fight. You can come forward, come all the way back. A little bit of gappage, but still okay. And for here, coming forward, actually, that's pretty close. Never mind. I was under the impression that wasn't quite the same, but now that I'm doing that on camera at the same time, that's actually pretty close. And then next big difference I'd say the only notable next difference is the knees, where the knee pads are part of the sculpt here. That is the knee joint. So you get a really nice range on the knees for Penta in the boss fight. And then for Jazwares, you're only gonna get 90, maybe slightly past, because this knee pad is a separate piece and you can move it around, but you're still just not gonna get the range you do get here. So if I'm going to declare a winner in this round, it's gonna be boss fight. So wrapping things up here with my final thoughts. For my money, the winner here is hands down the Boss Fight Studios Penta El Zero M, just because, I mean, in terms of sculpt, articulation, accessories, and just overall aesthetics, I think it's just a higher quality figure, and it is twice the price, so that is very much worth noting here. You are getting all of that because, you know, at retail, this was like 40, 45. This is about 20, 24, depending on where you go. So that's gonna weigh heavily. Not only that, but even though it wins out in all those categories, the only mark against it is the scaling, where the AEW Unrivaled is going to fit in better with your larger wrestling figure collection, where 1/10 is more the scale and not 1/12. So that's again going to be up to your personal decision. The purpose of these videos is just kind of show you what they look like side by side, give you my opinion on things, and let you go from there. So yeah, let me know in the comments, do you have one or both of these, and which one do you prefer if you have both? Another thing, actually, now that I've just thought about it, another thing worth noting is that they just released, I think like that literally a few days ago, the newest AEW Unrivaled line, Wave came out, sorry, and there's an updated Penta El Zero M, Pentagon Jr. in this case, as well as a Ray Phoenix in their black and gold ring gear, and it looks like that they did an improved face sculpt on those figures. So I'm not going to do another video going over those if I get my hands on them, but worth noting and worth looking into. So with that being said, I hope you found this entertaining and informative, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. I will be trying to do a PlastiCombat like this at least once a month, as well as doing a retro review once a month, and then I have some sort of video going up every Thursday of every week. So yeah, please subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. So please remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to those around you, and most importantly, stay weird, simians.